Guys, today's a little bit different podcast. We're not talking business today, but we have probably one of the most special guests on here, a very good friend of ours, Lacey Land, who has donated stem cells through bone marrow transplant to literally give life. So her story deserves to be told. So that's what we're doing today. Enjoy.
Hey, this is Liz, and you're listening to the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
Episode 30, my name is Jared Cutterman.
Kyle Voss.
We're here with Lacey Land today. Lacey, how good to have you with us here.
Hey, thanks for having me, for sure.
Episode 30. Wow.
I know, making some moves.
Yeah, so we figured on this podcast we'd do something a little bit different today other than regular business. We've got Lacey with us to tell an incredible, it's a long story, so we're going to cover a lot of ground in this next 60 minutes or so.
A story that needs to be told, though.
That's right. So it's not a here first, but it is a good platform to tell the story of bone marrow transplants, foundations that support thereof, etc. So, Lacey, let's just get right into it. Tell us a little bit about how you got to be a donor of bone marrow.
So, I have some really, really good friends, Jason and Mary Tannery, and in 2012 they had twin boys, Lachlan and Calhoun. So they were healthy, beautiful boys growing up. Twins. So it ends up they're 99.99999% identical. So they were identical twins. And as they got older, Lachlan tended to be more sick than Calhoun. So they went and they were running tests and stuff. And in the summer of 2014, he was diagnosed with JMML, which is a juvenile leukemia, super rare.
Leukemia is a blood cancer, correct?
Correct, blood cancer. So JMML affects, it's called 1 in a million. So there's very few cases of that each year in the United States. So when he was diagnosed, the way for him to be healed or treated would be through a stem cell transplant, bone marrow transplant. So they started looking for a donor. There's a couple different ways. They will look at family, but 70% of the people who have a blood cancer, leukemia or anything, have a family match. So really, there's only 30% of people that find a family match.
Right.
Calhoun couldn't donate because he was an identical twin, and he could have ultimately had it himself. There was no way to know at that point.
Didn't know yet, right?
Yeah. So when that started, they reached out, the doctors and stuff, they start looking at the registries that are out there and looking for donors that match. So through that, a group of friends started forming like bone marrow drives to try to get people on the registry, because there's only it's very slim. I mean, there's millions on it, but there's billions of people in the world. So the rate's just not where it needs to be.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's one of those things where very few people take the time to donate just to be on a registry. Like, I think more people are more likely to donate when they know there's somebody in need, I guess.
Well, I mean, this is a small community, right? We've talked about this several times on the podcast. We all know the tanneries.
Yeah.
If you don't, you know somebody that does, right? And we remember when they're asking for, everybody come in, and if you're interested, and, nothing's mandatory, but they certainly put the word out to say we need help.
Yeah.
And usually in a town like ours, a community like ours, there's a lot of people that went to help.
Yeah.
But Lacey, when you went in, did you go in to see if you were a match first?
So it's a super simple process.
Right.
So you go, there's a swab kit. At the time, they actually had the swab kits when they would do the drive. So you would go in, you would fill out your paperwork, and you would swab there, seal your kit up, and it would be sent off.
And this is just to see if you're a match.
Well, you're going to be on the registry and hope that.
So you knew that going into it. You
Yes.
know that there was a chance that you might could help Lachlan. You knew there was a permanent residency on the list
Correct.
itself.
Could help somebody else.
That's right.
down the road.
Okay.
Yeah, ultimately could help somebody else one day,
Sure.
never knowing, though, whether you were going to match or not. Mm-hmm. So joined the registry in 2014, and nobody on the registry that we signed up was a match, but Lachlan did get a match. He got a match out of a man in California whose name is Joey. So Joey donated, and Lachlan got more time through Joey's donation, ultimately. Lachlan passed away in May of 2015. But there was more time given through somebody who, who said yes.
And it was directly by the leukemia itself, right?
How big is the Be the Match Foundation? Right, is that a foundation? Is it just a registry?
So Be the Match is an organization.
Got it.
They're based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it's big. So when I joined, I didn't know much about the registry at all. I was just trying to help somebody that was very close to me. So I didn't know a lot about it, but learned throughout the time. And then a foundation was started called Lachlan's Hope through a group of friends. And now I'm on the board for the foundation. So I wasn't an original member, but I've been on the board probably 5 years now.
So let's talk about Lachlan's Hope for a minute before we get back into your incredible story. Lachlan's Hope started when?
So it would have started I'm pretty sure it was in 2014.
Sure. I think everybody in this room behind us here, we've all donated to Lachlan's Hope, and we continue to donate every year poor little Lachlan, if he would have known what kind of impact he would continue to have, not only from the mid 2014s, but for the next 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
Lachlan's Hope is going to be a thriving foundation to do just what it was intended to do.
Right.
Lachlan's legacy will live on far beyond what any of us will.
That's right. That's right.
I mean,
I got cold chills thinking about that. Like true legacy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Ripples.
That's right.
We talk about ripples.
That's right.
So it'll live on one through Calhoun, and he has another brother, Owen. They had a younger son a year later. So Calhoun and Owen, and they're the duo, man. They're wrestlers. They're tough boys. They're sweet.
See them on social media all the time. They got two
awesome kids.
Proud parents too.
Oh yeah,
Mary and Jason. They don't cut any punches there. They'll throw it out there. Number one.
Yep.
I love it. I love watching them grow up because part of this community considers those kids family. Like we all watched the whole saga.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a drama show. It was more of an educational, updates, right? Here's what's happening today. Here's what's happening next month. Blah, blah, blah. And they continue. Lachlan's Hope continues to update us on things that they're doing as a foundation.
Yeah, so every year we have a golf tournament. It started in the spring. We moved it to the fall when COVID happened in 2020. So we've been having fall tournaments since 2020. We're going to have a fall tournament this year. And then in 2024, we're going to go back to the spring. Weather's a little bit better in the spring than in the fall.
And that's 100% of the proceeds, I'm assuming, go to the
foundation. Yeah. So what's really cool about our foundation is we're all volunteers. We don't get any money. We don't use any of the money for anything. If we're traveling, we pay.
Nobody's an employee.
No, not at all.
So tell us a little bit about the foundation itself. What are they raising money for? What else is Lachlan's Hope involved in?
Yeah. So we raise money to help children in the state of South Carolina who are going to go through bone marrow transplants themselves. So a lot of times we're with Greenville Hospital System, Prisma, and then MUSC. So if you're in South Carolina, you have to go to bone marrow to do a bone marrow transplant. It's done at MUSC, but a lot of the kids in the upstate, Greenville will be their hospital until they go to transplant. So we help facilitate with needs for families as they're going through that process. So they can sign up. They just fill out a small questionnaire and gives us some information about their family. And we go in when we first get a kid on the registry or on our foundation and they sign up with us. We send a package at first that has stuff for them. And then we continue to assist the family as they go through transplant. Because when they go through transplant, once you have your transplant, you have to be in the hospital or within 30 minutes of the hospital 100 days post-transplant.
Wow.
Well, through Mary's communication on social media, we all got educated on leukemia.
Yes.
Right? We all got educated on bone marrow transplant. But give us an idea of how often this happens with kids in the state of South Carolina. If we got 50 kids out there currently looking for donors? Or
there's a lot out there looking for donors. So there's actually a percentage. So when you get diagnosed with a blood cancer, you have a 29 to 79% chance of finding a match. That's a big range.
Yeah.
But it's based on your ethnicity. basically.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Do you know that? Do you happen to know the
big gap.
percentages by ethnicity?
I do. So if you are white, your chances are 98%. But if you're Hispanic or Asian, it's a 40 to 45% chance.
Now, I wonder how that correlates with the percentage of the population. Is that because there's more Caucasian in the population?
It's because there's more Caucasians on the registry.
Gotcha.
To go.
So if you're listening and you are,
Well, let me tell you, hold on. But
anybody.
here's the big kicker. So if you're African American, there's only a 25% chance.
Because
So
there's not enough African American
on the
on the
registry.
registry.
yeah. So, I mean, obviously, if you're listening, I would suggest everybody participate. But if you happen to be African American or of Asian descent in any way,
You may have a bigger impact.
you may have a bigger impact. There may be more need for you in this particular instance, right?
So, and if you're gonna sign up, this is the biggest part of it. If you're gonna sign up, when you get the call, you got to say yes. Don't back out
After.
because
How many people do that? How many people are like, oh yeah, I'll sign up, man. I'll help you out. And then they get the call and go, several years later, and we'll get into that later. It could be 5 to 7 years later or longer.
Yeah.
It could be as long as you live, right?
Yeah. Well,
get the
you
call
can
and
only
go,
donate to 60, but
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
so
No,
what?
that's what you signed up for in the
That's,
beginning.
that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
Tell Uncle Sam when you sign up for the Army, I tell you something, I don't want to go to boot camp.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to commit.
Correct. So what they see a lot of the times would be the match. They'll do drives at colleges. And so a professor will say, hey, if you go sign up,
You get extra credit.
you get extra credit.
And then later on,
10 years later,
I get that.
you get a call.
You know, there's probably a good and a bad to that, right? The bad is that obviously some of those fall through. The good, though, is at least it grows the registry.
It does. But sometimes you could be the only match on that registry for
Yeah.
that person. And if you say no, that person doesn't have a chance.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Now, there's some people that have multiple matches. So they have, the first one may say no, but they have, backup matches.
Right.
So, and typically in a family, there's probably a 50% match somewhere, but that's not a good match. But it's better than no match.
Right. So now let me ask you this. The better the match, the better the potential prognosis. Is that how that works?
Correct.
Okay.
So the better the match.
50% match.
Yeah. So I think I'm on the same page here. Just because I'm a match doesn't mean I'm 100% the same.
Yeah, they want to
as
find the best
as
match.
the need, right? I could be 40%, but I'm the highest, so they're going to go with that.
Well, 40 wouldn't, only if it was probably a
certain
family.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Golly day.
Yeah, they're looking for the best match possible for the best odds
Right.
of recovery, I guess, right? Yeah.
And Lacey, do you happen to know what recovery rates is for the kids that Lachlan's Hope deals with?
So, I don't know a rate necessarily. I can kind of give some feedback. Like we've had kids
Great.
that have not, that since I've been involved have passed away and gone on. But then there are probably more who have not since I've been on the
So
register.
you've made a difference.
Yes.
No doubt.
That's awesome.
Talk about impact.
You know what's crazy about this, and this is kind of where I'm going. We're talking about stem cell therapy and whatnot, and it's a new technology. It's relatively new. It's been around for a while, but 50, 100 years ago, I don't even know if they knew what a blood cancer was, right? Those people just passed away and they had no idea what happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Think about that. Now technology's where they know exactly what it is. They know exactly what they need to cure it.
And we have a fix for it.
We have a fix
A
for it.
possible fix.
Yes, if we can find the right donors.
Yeah. So, and sometimes, ultimately, just like Lachlan, he didn't get the healing that we would have wanted on this side. I mean, obviously we would have loved for Lachlan to still be here.
Right.
But he did get more time. Even with his donation, he had more time with his family. His family had more time with him. They were able to make memories that had he not had the transplant,
They wouldn't have been able
to make.
You know, it's crazy. I was listening to a TED Talk the other day, and the guy was saying, what's the biggest, most profound thing that's happened over the last 100 years? And, every answer was like, technology, cars, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, you know what the biggest profound technology that's happened over the last 100 years is lifespan. Because 100 years ago, you're lucky to live to 35 years old.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They've doubled that, you know.
Well, partially we don't shoot people in the street anymore over an argument. You know,
I mean, some do.
part of it.
Some do.
I mean, some do. You're right, but
yeah. And obviously that could be attributed to a lot of things. Modern medicine
That's right.
is probably the biggest thing, but we don't have to do as much physical labor as we used to. I would guess.
yeah,
a whole.
machines have replaced horses and oxen.
Yeah.
Right.
We know more about diet and stuff like that too. But so cool.
We'll keep going.
All right. So still with Lachlan's Hope, it's really neat to get to go in. Before COVID, we would go into the hospitals and we would get to actually interact with the patients. We do still get to do some interaction now that we've moved past that. It really sucks to have to say pre-COVID, after COVID. That's a horrible thing.
No, that's right. That's the world we live in, though.
Correct. So, but we still do get to have some interaction. Some families will have more to do with you than others, but it's really neat to get to see a kid once they have had a transplant. Most of them have a page on social media, so you can follow them. Like right now we have a young man, Cruz. He's got Cruz Strong, so we're following him.
Oh, sure.
We have probably 15 patients right now that we're active with in the state. So that's cool. But we get to Christmas time. We take presents. That's always fun to get to send gifts down to kids and brighten up their day because. Just like Lachlan, he was in the hospital for most holidays. And Mary, she's a rock star. We all know her. But,
Sure.
His room, you would never know he's in a hospital room. It was decorated for, like, every holiday.
Way
Christmas
to go,
tree.
Mary.
Yeah. Furniture.
That's it.
All kinds of stuff.
Player,
Yeah.
toy box.
Yeah, Christmas trees, pumpkins, Valentine's, bunnies, whatever the holiday was. The room was decorated. It had Christmas lights. It had lights even when it wasn't Christmas.
That's awesome.
It was cool. So we get to be with families, and then ultimately we can pray for them too. So even if we're not right there with them in the room, then we still have a connection
Right.
to be able to talk to them and stuff.
Lachlan's Hope's a great thing. Mary, Jason, we thank you for starting such a great organization to give back and through your experiences. But today I really want to focus on your experience. So, but before we transfer to you, tell people where they can find Lachlan's Hope and if they want to donate, what that looks like.
So you can find us at lachlan'shope.org on the website. We also have Facebook, Instagram, and then you can find Be The Match at bethematch.org. And then there's another foundation. It's called Gift of Life, which is giftoflife.org. And I'll talk about it a little bit in my story. But they're all on social media. And if you go to bethematch.org, you can actually sign up there. They will mail you the kit. You literally swab your mouth.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. Sitting at your kitchen table.
Seal it back up, send it back.
That's it.
Great. We're
They'll
going to
send you an email.
We're going to be right back and let Lacey tell us about her story of Lachlan's Hope and Be The Match and her experience through that. So we'll be right back.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. When it comes to your auto and home insurance needs, make things simple and trust your Allstate experts. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your auto and home. Bundling saves money, sure, but it also saves you time. So you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact Clemson Allstate agent Shane Smith at 864-654-1047 today for a free personalized insurance proposal. Allstate, are you in good hands?
Okay, we're back with Lacey Land telling her story about her process doing, it's not stem cell, it'd be bone marrow transplant.
Through stem cells.
Through stem cell. So, Lacey, tell us a little bit about, we've already touched on that you registered with Be The Match in 2014. Okay, then tell us that life just happened after that, and then you get a phone call and win and start your story there.
Yeah. I guess you were probably still kind of involved with the tanneries, right? Through that process,
always.
even though you
So
weren't a match.
Since I've been on the board, I've been involved with the tanneries because they're my friends, so I never was not involved. But
Sure.
And then I joined the board. So, but before I get to that, I know some other guests have brought gifts.
Oh.
But no, mine's pretty special though. So
We love gifts.
Each year at the golf tournament, we give out poker chips.
Hey.
So I got both of you a poker
Awesome.
chip.
I want to invite to the tournament. That's what I want.
I got you. You're officially invited.
Kyle, you see that on the screen?
It's a little bright. But yeah. Yeah.
Cool poker chips. They say Lachlan's Hope and have the logos, which I'm assuming is
So the logo is actually the three boys' hands.
okay.
That is Lachlan, Calhoun, and Owen is in the middle.
They're actually hand printed, like
Yeah.
a hand,
They're
like a
hand
Like
painted.
hand paint.
So
Yeah.
it's on my shirt too, but I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
it or not. But yeah.
Those
So
are cool.
Lachlan would be left, Calhoun would be right, and Owen's in the middle. Lachlan,
awesome.
Lachlan left. That's how they used to tell them apart. Lachlan left, Calhoun right.
It's awesome. That is cool.
Yeah. So all right. In 2021 January, I was at work. Phone rang, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I don't know anybody there. I probably shouldn't have gave you that right then.
So you ignore it.
So
You sent the phone call, the
do.
most important phone call
Yeah.
of your and somebody else's life to voicemail.
I did. Sure enough. So I sent it to voicemail.
Spam.
Nowadays, yeah. So there was, but they left a voicemail, which normally
yeah.
they don't. So
right.
I picked my phone up, walked off to the side, and checked the voicemail. And the voicemail said, "Hey, Lacey, this is Rachel from Be the Match. I was calling to see if I could talk to you about being a possible match." And when I tell you, my stomach went flipped upside down. I was like, I couldn't dial it fast enough. I couldn't call her back fast enough. So I called her back and I was like, "Hey, this is Lacey. I just had a missed call from you." And she said, "Hey, how are you?" Good. And we talked for a minute. And she said, "I was just calling to let you know that you've been, you're a possible match for 37-year-old female with AML." And I said, "Well, sign me up. I'm ready to go."
What's AML?
AML is acute myeloid leukemia.
Okay.
So it's a fast, acute, obviously.
Yeah.
But so I said, "Sign me up. I'll leave tomorrow." I said, "I can be wherever you need to be, wherever you need me." She said, "Well, there's a few steps before we get there."
Do I need to take it myself?
Yeah.
No, I'd be like, you better get me there now before I have time to think. Because I might change my mind. I'm telling you, put me on a plane.
Yeah. So,
But you had no hesitation. You were like, I signed up. I'm committed. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. Well, and you lived it. You lived it already.
right.
So
That's right.
Yeah.
So she said, "I'll send you a swab kit out. You'll re-swab." I mean, obviously it'd been 7 years since I swabbed originally. So
They wanted you to double check.
So they sent a swab kit out. I swabbed on that was on the 22nd of January. On the 25th, I swabbed, sent it back in. She said, "I'll call and set up a call where we'll do a health questionnaire." Now, when I tell you, I'm sure you've given blood before and they ask you a lot of questions. We were on the phone for over an hour answering questions about my health, just all my family's health, my health, it was a long conversation about health.
You get one shot at this. So it's like, let's make sure that you are the match.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know the process in the cost of the technology, but I would assume that you just don't willy-nilly,
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot. So finished that call and had to wait. So waited until February.
Wow.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
That stress.
So it was not funny, but when it happened, when I got the first call on the 22nd, I immediately called Mary, and I don't remember if Mary answered. Oh, and I called Tessa. Tessa answered, but she was so Tessa showed she's on the board too.
Yep.
And then so board members are Mary Tannery, Macy Weaver, which is Mary's sister-in-law, Tessa Shope, Savannah Shope, and myself.
Oh, Savannah's on it too?
Yes, correct. So
Good team.
yeah. So call Tessa, and I'm like, "Put me on speakerphone if you're with Mary." So I tell them, and then I call Macy, and then I call Savannah. So I called all of them first to let them know I'd been, I'd gotten the call.
Yeah.
So is this excitement? Is it celebration? Is it like I get a chance?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
they
for
picked
sure.
me. They picked me.
That's what I kept saying to people. I can't believe that
I have the
I've
opportunity.
matched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. So on the and you may not know the answer to this, but on the other side of that person that needed that donation, Do they tell them too, hey, we got a match?
So yeah,
A possible match?
So I ended up, I'll use her name just because I know her name now, but I matched with a lady named Tara. And she is from Southern Indiana, Washington, Indiana. So Tara was told that she had 4 matches.
Okay. And you were one of them.
I was one of the 4.
Because I guess what I'm trying to get at is, you know, it's got to be really weird for you to know that you're a possible match and then have to wait. Like, how is that for her?
Long.
Yeah.
How is that for her knowing that she had 4 possible matches, yet still like,
But she doesn't even know yet if any of the 4 are going to say yes. So she knows she has
Gotcha.
4 possible matches, but she doesn't know that, I mean, all 4 could potentially say no.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So February 26th, my nephew and I were sitting at Porto Nuevo in Westminster.
Shout out.
That's my jam for sure. And I got a call, and it was Rachel. So Rachel was my coordinator through Be the Match. So she was with me through the whole process. And it was Rachel, and she said, I'm calling to tell you that you are the perfect match, and I need to know if you're willing to go to transplant.
You're like, yep.
Yep. I'm leaving tomorrow. Yep. I'll leave right now. I mean, I just need to take him home.
I just gotta let this margarita wear off a little bit.
So immediately I was like, my nephew Michael's. I have my nephew's Michael and niece Haley, and I said, Michael, we got to hurry up and eat. We got to go. And so I drove straight to Ramcat Alley, and I walked into M. Tannery and Sons, and I looked at Mary and I said,
I'm 100% match.
I'm a match. Later on, I find out not only was I a match, I was a perfect match. I was 10 out of 10. They tested 4 more HLA markers, which are more blood markers, and they tested 4 of those. I was 3 out of 4 on those markers. So I was 1 marker away from being like
Perfect.
super. Well, it would be super perfect.
Yeah.
I was already.
What are those odds?
I don't know. Probably not.
1 in 300 million.
Yeah,
something.
a lot. Yeah. So went to Mary's. Some tears, happy tears, not sad tears, but happy tears. I hung out there for a while. I didn't want to leave. Like it was just one of those. It was a moment for sure in my life. So Rachel called back after that evening, and we talked. They said that you get to take. So when you go to donation, I guess I found out a lot through a phone call, but she told me I had I had multiple options. So I could go to Greenville, which is close to home. I could go to MUSC, which is still close to home, Charleston, which was kind of special. So I just said, well, that'll be fine. I'll go to MUSC. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of memories there. So Lachlan was there. I love Charleston. I lived there for a while. So she said, well, how would you feel about going to Boca Raton, Florida? I said, well, I mean, I can, but I don't have to. I can go to Charleston. She said, there's a donation center down there. It's called Gift of Life. She said, and it's amazing. She said, if I could get you booked there, would you be willing to go there? And I said, sure, I'll go there.
Doesn't matter where.
No, yeah. I would have went to Greenville. I went to Anderson. I mean, we'll take it in Seneca if you want to. I mean, I don't know how. But you're wanting to do it. Yeah. Sign me up. But so she said, you'll get to take a companion, and Be the Match is amazing, and Gift of Life. They're both amazing organizations. So the donor pays for nothing. They take care of your flights if you're flying. They take care of your gas if you're driving, your hotels while you're there. They give you an allotment for food. It's really an amazing organization. So there was no doubt in my mind who I was going to ask to go with me, but I needed to ask. So went to a wrestling match. Mary and the boys were at West Oak at a wrestling match. And so I went down and I said, I know I'm probably not placed, but I'd like to ask you if you'd go with me and be my, they call it a companion. They were like, will you be my companion when I donate? And of course, that was a yes for her. So she had been through donation on the other side.
That's right.
Yeah. She had been on the receiving side. Now she was going to go and be on the side of
the giving side.
The giving side.
Wow.
That's awesome. Like, feel my eyes getting a little, Must be the onions in
Man,
here.
it's tough, right? And you got to put yourself in Mary's shoes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, that's what
She
I think
has
about.
to live it over again, but in a beautiful way, you know? So to be on the gifting side of that for her, to see it full circle.
Well, and it almost makes it to where, you know, in a position where you have no control. Now,
That's right.
You do
That's
have the
right.
control. You know, it's like this full circle of.
So February 26th, you got the final call. What was the time frame before you ended up in Boca Raton?
So February 26th, I got the call. I had to do a physical and blood work, and that was in March, the 1st of March. And on March 9th, I got the all clear. So they called and said that my blood work, my physical, everything was good, and I was all clear to donate. So then it was the wait of, I was going to leave on the 23rd to fly to Boca Raton and give on the 24th. So a few things transpired, obviously, through those next few days. But the weekend before I left to go to donation, I have a pastor who I think highly of, and he's in Knoxville, Tennessee now. He was my pastor in college, and so I wanted to go up and see him and have him pray for me and my recipient. So my best friend Wanda and I drove up to Knoxville, and he had no clue I was coming. I had reached out to his wife just to say, make sure they were going to be there that Sunday. And I went up, and during the church service, he stopped the service, and he said, I don't know what's going on. He's like, but God's just speaking. And he said, if you have anything that you need, like if you just need prayer for health or family, just whatever, he said, we're going to stop this service. We're going to continue to worship and just come forward. And so Wanda's like tapping me on the leg.
You better go.
I'm like, I got this. And so like I sat there for the next verse of the song. And then I was like, all right, I got it. And so I stepped out and went around and walked up and tapped him on the back. And he turned around and he said, Lacey Land.
What are you doing here?
So I was like, hey, Pastor Jeff. And so I hugged him. And, of course, I was already crying at this point. And I said, I'm going to go give bone marrow next week. And I said, I'd like for you to pray for me and my recipient, if you could. He said, hold on one second. We got you. And so he started calling people to come down front. And his wife came out of the balcony and he called another lady out of the choir loft. And I could see she had a head wrap on, and when she got down, he introduced me to her, and he said, he told me her name, and her name was Jaquetta, and he said, she's going through the battle of her life right now. He said, so she's going to stand in the gap for your donor. He said, we're gonna pray that God would, heal not only your person, your recipient,
That's right,
but Jaquetta too. And so we sat and. I'm a Baptist, but we use oils, and I was good with it. I never had it.
Hey, can't be hating.
Nice. So it was the most humbling, and Jared, he's laughing because I said that.
No,
but,
that is funny.
yeah, but when I tell you it was the most humbling experience that I've ever been through in my life, to sit beside someone and hold hands with them, knowing that they where most days they don't have good days when they're going through that.
That's right.
They're sick. They don't feel good. A lot of them lose their hair. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that goes on for someone.
She was in the same fight.
She was in the fight for her life. And so we left that day, and I mean, it was just a touch that I don't know how to describe. But went home and got ready to leave. And so when you're going to be a donor, you have to take shots. I don't like needles. But that's okay because...
Somebody else do it?
well, somebody else gave them to me. Savannah, shout out to Nurse Savannah. So every day from the 23rd till my donation day, so 5 days leading up, I had to take filgrastim shots. So filgrastim is actually a medicine they give cancer patients. And what it does is it helps generate cells. So it was basically making me make more
So you had an abundance.
cells.
Yeah.
Correct. So I could give what they needed. So I took the shots. I had to have 2 shots, one in each arm for 5 days. So every morning I would have to be at Savannah's house at the same time. I had to take the shot at the same time. So she would check my blood pressure, do all the workup, and then she would give me a shot in the back of each one of my arms. Funny story. I don't like needles, but I got tattoos. So my arm that has a tattoo never hurt.
Yeah.
Never knew it. Nothing. The arm that didn't was so sore. Like it was, I couldn't even raise it most days. Like it was bad. But that was my only side effect, was having a little bit of sore arm and a headache.
Yeah.
Was all I experienced during my shots. So on the 23rd, Mary came and picked me up, and we went to Tessa and Savannah's, got my shots, and we headed to Greenville to the airport. But through that, they had done a T-shirt drive, so we stopped where I was working and gave them their shirts, and they were super supportive. And so we got onto the airport. We almost missed our flight, hanging out at the Chick-fil-A in the Greenville airport.
That would have sucked.
But that would have been a bad day.
Yeah.
We would have just drove to Boca Raton.
Yeah, you would have. Let's go.
It's a road trip.
Road trip.
Right.
Yeah. So flew down to Boca Raton on the 23rd, and like I said, Be the Match is amazing. So they pick you up at the airport. We had an amazing driver. His name was Eddie. He gave us a tour of Boca Raton while we were there, and we stayed in Del Rey. So he took us around, showed us where to go eat and all that good stuff. So got there and got ready, just went to dinner the night before and got to spend some awesome quality time with Mary while I was down there. And we had been roommates before earlier in life, but it was cool to get to hang out, just she and I.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, not knowing who my recipient was at the time.
So did you know a name or anything at this point?
So
female, sex.
I know female, 37-year-old AML in America.
Not even state.
No. She knew female, 39 years old in America, never been pregnant. That's a big thing in this whole story. So, so
why does that matter?
So I didn't know this until after the fact. So kind of fast forward, but Tara's doing awesome. So she's in remission right now. I'll get into it a little bit, but so when I was able to meet her, one of the things she asked me was, so you don't have children? And I said, I don't. I said, I just don't. And so that was one of the biggest reasons I was probably a perfect match for her. So when you're a female and you have a baby, you give a piece of your DNA away.
It changes it.
It changes your DNA.
That makes sense.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I had never changed. My DNA had never been altered. I still had everything that I was born with. And so typically they like to choose males because
It doesn't
reason.
change. Yeah.
for that reason. But not having a baby and being a perfect 10 out of 10 and then 3 out of 4, her doctor selected me. So her doctor does the selection. Once he gets the results back, her doctor makes the determination of what kind of transplant, whether it would be stem cells or the typical bone marrow that used to be like through the hip surgery.
Yeah.
So they still do that sometimes, but more so
where
now.
They actually take out some marrow itself. Yeah.
Is that not, so I don't want to get into those super details, but is that not what they did in this instance?
No. So I gave through PBMC. So that's just a term that's medical terms, but I gave through stem cells. So I actually, it's pretty much like having if you were to give plasma. So
they spin the blood.
Correct. So I had, when I got there, I had a out port and an in port. So both arms. But so we went the morning when I got up to go, called this sweet little lady named Myra Ketterman.
Shout out.
We FaceTime Mary and I did. And
I'm sure.
Yeah. So that was
I'm sure there was some praying involved in that one too.
Prayed for and all.
Well, she had been praying for a long time.
No doubt. We all were, because we all kind of walked this journey with you.
Correct.
Right?
I mean, y'all are my friends. Y'all are people that, I do life with. So, so got to the donation center, and I'm telling you, I was nervous. I was excited to give. I was nervous about the process.
Yeah.
And so we get there, and they said, have you had breakfast? Nope. And little sidebar, because y'all like this story, but when I got on a Facebook group that only for donors. So they want you to join so you can ask questions to other people who have donated. So I never ask a question, but I would read what other people ask so I would know. Yes, I know what's going on.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. So one of the comments was, you should wear a dress. It's easier to donate. Oh, God. And I was like, hey, man, I'm not wearing a dress.
If you don't know Lacey, which there's probably a good chance that you already know Lacey, but if you don't know, I've never seen Lacey in a dress.
Yeah.
Ever.
There's one person in this room who has, but I mean, I'm just saying.
Sure.
Or two, I guess 2 people in this room who have.
So
but anyway, so go to donate, and have you had breakfast? No, you're going to eat breakfast. So, okay. So they gave me some yogurt, and I ate that, and they take me back, and you have one nurse that you're with all day. So
are we getting into why you have to wear a dress?
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay.
So Miss Eleanor was going to be my nurse. She gets me hooked up. They bring Mary back. We're in our own pod. We start the process, and I mean, basically, you sit there, hang out. They have TV and stuff. We never even turned it on. We talked. We called people. We were FaceTiming. Yeah. We were making videos. I had to eat every 2 hours. Mary had to feed me every time because I could not bend my left arm at all. Mm-hmm. It had to stay straight. And my right arm I could use a little bit. So
the blood's going out. Mm-hmm. They're spinning it, pulling plasma out of it.
They're pulling stem cells.
And then the blood goes back into your body.
It does. It gets heated up through a machine and then goes back into your body. Yeah,
it's like a filtration.
Yeah. So I was on the machine for 8.5 hours.
Wow, that's crazy.
Donated right around. It was right around between 7 and 10. Tara and I both have different numbers, so somewhere between 7 and 10 million cells is what I donated.
How many was required?
She needed about 5, but they
get a
little extra just in case. And so they'll actually, I could have had, she has never needed, but if she did, I could go donate more if she ever needed another.
Right.
I would still be her match and could donate again if she needed.
Now, I don't know if you know this answer, but is her process similar? Do they kind of put it in?
Great question.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hers goes in just like you would be receiving like a transfusion.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So hers goes in and it stays in. So she literally now has my DNA and my blood running
10 million cells.
Yeah, but how much is that? So we're familiar with the IV bag, and when you give blood,
it looks like an IV bag.
Right. But how many bags is
1 bag?
What?
1 bag.
8 hours. We produce 7 to 10 million stem cells.
That's because
it's only 1 bag.
Yeah, because it's only pulling out a portion.
Yeah, it only takes
most of it goes back in her.
Yeah. So donate. So through it, like I was good for about the first 3.5 hours.
And you're like, this isn't bad.
They catered in Cheesecake Factory. So I had a menu. Yeah,
can I get a natty?
yeah. So true story. I didn't drink from January 22nd until after I donated.
Yeah.
I never
requirement?
Not a requirement. I did it just to make sure everything was going to work out.
That's awesome.
I didn't want to mess anything up once I got the phone call. I wasn't going to risk anything.
Once you get identified and you're one in the hundreds of thousands of people probably on the list that match, man, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders to make sure that, man, I'm going to drive slow today. Don't hit me. You know, I'm walking a little slower. You can't have any risk.
Can I get a little extra kale on that, please?
Yeah.
So my biggest concern was getting COVID, if that would affect something, because it's 2021.
We're right there in that time frame.
So for Tara, her process was she was at MD Anderson in Houston. So she's obviously from Washington, Indiana. So when she got diagnosed, she asked her oncologist, if you could go anywhere in the country and money wasn't an option, what hospital would you go to? He said MD Anderson. So they had no connections, her doctor at the time, but she found a way.
It's awesome.
God found a way, but she got there. So she had been at MD Anderson since the 1st of December of 2020.
Oh, so she's been in the hospital the entire time.
Yeah, so she was diagnosed at the 1st of December. She got sick at the end of November, was diagnosed at the 1st of December. She left, I'm pretty sure it was December 9th when she kissed her boys goodbye. And she didn't see them like physically again, that FaceTime, for 9 months.
And not knowing if she's going to make it out.
Yep.
Because that's a high risk for her too.
Correct. she could get sick. She could.
That's right.
So her parents, her mom and dad, flew with her and went down to Houston and were with her. But one would be at the hospital and then one would stay at a hotel. So her mom was able to be with her though.
So when you're done, did they just pop the IV out? Go, thanks, Lacey. We appreciate
So
your
I
donation.
was.
Smack on the butt.
Yeah. Did you get a smiley face sticker or anything?
Well, I got some swag, so I have a bunch of Be The Match swag.
There you go.
So got done, went back to the hotel, went to sleep for about 3.5 hours.
Tired to make you
I was
tired.
done. I was, by the time it ended, I was slurring my speech. I couldn't talk. I wanted to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. Like I couldn't get comfortable enough to sleep. I've been sitting, I don't sit still very well.
Yeah,
so it was a long day. And so Mary had made dinner reservations at a nice restaurant in Delray. So we didn't have a car, but Delray is real small. So we just walked like a block down there. We ate and went back and I went to bed and woke up the next day and I was like, okay, so let's go to the Mexican restaurant down there.
Good.
We started at a Mexican restaurant. We're going to end this at a Mexican restaurant.
So before I left, everybody would say, hey, you want to go out to lunch? I probably ate Mexican literally like 8 times in like 5 days before I left. And so we had a running joke that we hoped she liked Mexican because she was getting salsa blood. Yeah. So go the next day to get a margarita, and I drink about half the glass, and I said, "Whoa."
I can't do this.
Yeah, because you hadn't had a drop.
Yeah.
I
don't have any. I'd given away a whole lot of stuff.
That's right.
I don't have white blood cells for all this alcohol.
So we fly back home, come home, and now the real wait begins because I don't get to know anything for a year.
Not even if the transplant.
So all I found out, So all I found out is she is supposed to get in April. I called.
Did they tell you that you were going to be updated though?
They tell you get very little updates. You know that up front. You know you're not going to get a lot. So I called when she was supposed to get, and they said that it had been postponed because she was sick. That's all they said. So then they called and said she was going to receive. So she received on Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, man, it was meant to be.
Yep.
This is everything Mexican restaurant there can be.
Yep.
She probably called you a year later and said, gracias.
we need a commercial.
Yeah.
So she received on May 5th, and on 8 days later, I got an email from her. So I had sent, so you can send one letter when you donate, and then they have the option of sending you a letter. You don't know whether that'll happen or not. So
Right.
I had sent her a letter when I got home. Well, it's an email. So you send it to your coordinator, and your coordinator sends it to her coordinator. They go in. You can't have anything that would tell
you
either.
who they are.
Yeah, you can't know anything. So
Is there a reason for this?
Yeah, so,
Just
go ahead.
I guess just
Is it Privacy Act or is it?
Yeah.
No.
No. So it's so you don't become attached if something.
Oh, gotcha.
If something was to happen, they don't want you.
That makes sense. Because if you knew who it was and something were to happen, it could
They don't want you to.
affect you in a much.
Yeah. I mean, and you're good. You would know now. If you call when you're allowed to, if you call and get your updates, if something had happened, they would give you the update of. But even so, I still had the option a year later to reach out to her family if that had been the case, and her family would have had the option to reach out.
Respond,
to me.
right?
So you have to. So they tell you have to wait 1 year. So I knew I had to wait till Cinco de Mayo. So everything after my donation, once she received, everything goes off her date. My date is super important, and that would be March 24th. So next Friday will be my 2 year. And then
That's awesome.
You know what's crazy about this? Cinco de Mayo. That's all I'm going to think about now.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's like that's what's going to pop in my head. Is this story not?
I'm thinking of, every Cinco de Mayo,
Right.
this story is going to pop in your head. Yeah.
every Cinco de Mayo
Yeah.
is Tara's rebirth day. Is what we call it now.
That's why everybody celebrates.
So
So tell us about the year later.
So a year later, on May 5th, I called Rachel and I said, I need that form. So she emailed me the form. I signed it, filled it out, sent it in. And then the next wait begins because I got to wait to see if my recipient
Wants
sends
to.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, you
So it's
both
up
have
to
to
her.
agree. You both have to agree. So she could want to and I not want to, and it doesn't happen. So I was in Charleston on So I got her letter on May 13th. On June 13th, I got an email, and it had, I'm driving in downtown Charleston with my mom in the truck, and I get an email from Be the Match. I nearly wrecked. It had a piece of paper, and it said her name, her address, her telephone number, and her email. I mean, I had everything. Right?
Did you go drive to Indiana?
Yeah, I was ready to get on a plane. Like, I didn't even want to drive.
Mom, we ain't got time to pack. We're going to Indiana.
Yeah.
Okay, hope you're ready.
We're packed. We got some clothes. We were on vacation right then.
Right.
So I called my girls again, Tessa, Mary, Savannah, Macy. Tell them I've got the information. I got her name now, Tara Brower. She has 4. I knew from her letter she had 4 boys. I didn't know anything else. I just knew she had 4 boys. So she has 4 boys, and then so obviously I want to call right then.
Yeah.
And Tessa's like, "You can't call right now. you got to let her call." And I was like,
"You got to process a little bit."
Yeah.
Well, hey, what are you doing? Yeah. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you alive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like my blood? Do you like Mexican?
Yeah.
Wanda says you have to let her reach out, and I'm like, "Listen, it's Friday. I'll give her to Sunday, and then I'm sending something."
I'll give her a couple days.
Lacey's not a patient person to begin with. Right?
So
I've been waiting for 2 years or however long. Like, I ain't waiting no longer.
So Friday night, that night, I got a text, and it was a picture of Tara holding her youngest son, John. And it said, "I don't know of another way to introduce myself, but after a long day of work, getting to come home and hold my son and enjoy these moments.
It's awesome.
Thank you."
That's podcast.
Awesome.
It's over.
Where's the tissues at, man? Come on.
My gosh. And right then, what feelings are going through your head right there?
I mean, I just want to give her a hug. Yeah. I mean, I want to be in Indiana. I want to talk to her. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't know. There's so much going through your head.
Yeah, because you don't know, even though she sent you that, you still don't know how she feels about you. You know, she doesn't, first of all, she probably doesn't know that much about you either. So
funny. She said, so I didn't send her a picture until I think it was the next day. I mean, it's weird. Like, you've gone all your life and you don't know this person, but now you're like, almost identical to them. And it's like, do we look alike? Well, I got her picture. We don't look alike. I mean, like, this is the truth. She gets my picture. She thinks we're going to be like long lost cousins. She was like, I just thought we would look alike, like we were family. And she's like 5'6", very slim. I mean, I'm 5 foot nothing. So like, yeah. And so we text back and forth Friday night, and then we text a little bit on Saturday and made a plan that we would have a phone call on Sunday night. So I sent her a text, and I was like, "I'm free whenever you are." And she said, "All right, I'm gonna get the boys settled, and then I'll call you." And I was like, she said, "About 10 minutes." And I mean, you're just, it's like
felt like an hour. Yeah.
Sweating. You're just so. So
did you have the girls there with you on this?
So actually I was with my mom, and Wanda and her mom. So we were all down at the beach. But so I go upstairs, and I take the phone call, and she's like, it rings, and I pick up and I say, "Hello." She said, "Hey." And I said, "How are you?" And she said, "Boy, you're from the South." Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
This whole process, first words I read, your country.
Yeah. That accent.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we talked for about 2.5 hours, and we talk about it now, and it was like, it went everywhere. It was like, her first question to me was, she wanted to know about children, like why. So I kind of talked about that why with her, and then I was like, from that it spawned this, and then this. Then my why, like I said, "Do you want to know my why?" And she said, "Yeah." And so I tell her about Lachlan and all that. And so we talked for about 2.5 hours, and we stayed in communication. We FaceTimed the next week, so I got to see the boys and kind of meet them. And I had pictures of them, but I got to FaceTime, and that was like WrestleMania in her house.
Yeah.
They were, of course, trying to show
4 boys.
Yeah,
I mean,
4
come
boys.
on now.
So she's got Jack, Nolan, Bennett, and John. So they're 15 to like 8. So
sounds like my household.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So communicate back and forth, and the plan was to eventually get to meet in person. So that was in June. So in October, they were on a fall break, the boys were, and she said, I'm going to come down to South Carolina. And I said, all right. So we make a plan. They really love the outdoors. They are true boys that sports like fishing, hunting, basketball. They're into all of it. And so she said, where's a good place to camp? And so I told them to go to Devil's Fork State Park, and we would hang out on Jocassee. And so they left. They left and they came down, and so they were coming in on a Monday. So the plan was to meet here on Main Street in Walhalla, and we were going to eat lunch at Steph's Steaks. And so she had shared her location, so I'd been watching her drive from like Chattanooga. I mean, I watched that red dot. Red dot all the way.
I'm shocked you didn't start driving towards the dot and meet her somewhere besides here. You're like, we just passed you. Turn around. There's a rest area right up there. I need a hug.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So she got on I don't know how, but she was on Whetstone Road. I guess they had cut through from Clayton, and so the dot went away. And I mean, I'm in Steph's seats, and I'm like, so I had one of my other best friends, Kristen, was with me, and my brother Brian was with me at the restaurant. And so finally I see them. They're coming. They get to the red light, and they turn and they park behind the police station. And so we're on the sidewalk at this point, and I see John. Well, I see one of the kids pop out, and then he goes back. And I was like, man, I got in trouble because he's running towards the street. And so they all come up, and she had her mom, Susie, with her too. And Jack was back home. He was on a hunting trip with his grandfather. She just had 3 youngest boys. And so they come and they're headed down the street, and John and Bennett start running. And they're in a full out sprint, and I'm just kind of standing, like trying to take it all in. And John gets to me first, and he just wrapped his arms around me, and that was like, yeah. So I'm glad I'm the first one to make you cry.
Oh my gosh.
But so Bennett hugs me, and at this point Nolan hadn't started running yet, and so Tara says, if you're gonna hug her before me, you better run.
Yeah.
She said, because when I get there, I'm gonna hug her. So we had quite the embrace on Main Street, Walhalla, and we had a great weekend after that. We hung out. We took the boat out on Jocassee on Tuesday. Boys got to drive. They swam. It was freezing cold. I mean, we're talking October. They didn't care.
Didn't matter.
Yeah. But we had dinner at a Mexican restaurant on Monday night.
Of course, like
with Mary and Jason, Calhoun, Owen, Tessa, Macy, my family, some close family friends. I mean, there was a bunch of people invited, but everybody that was there, we took over the restaurant pretty much in Seneca and hung out, and that was really good. And then Tuesday, Brian and I were on the lake with them, and we cooked out that night, made some hobo packs over the campfire, and just talked, got to know each other, like more so got to know each other. And so then
I guess you said she's in remission now, right?
Yeah, so she's doing really good. So I went up there on October. So I was up there for my birthday, the end of October, and spent time. I got to meet all of her family. We had Sunday dinner with about 65 people. Her family is real big. I mean, she's got 4 kids, but I got to meet all of her friends and see where she's from, and just make memories up there. And then I've also went up just 2 weeks ago. I was up there with her. Mm-hmm. She got married.
Congratulations, Tara.
Yeah.
Why, think about this.
Yeah.
You're in a spot in your life where you don't know if you're going to come out or not, literally.
Yeah.
And because of somebody else's complete unselfishness.
Yeah.
You get a whole nother chance, like a whole nother life. Lacey, would you do it again?
Oh,
right. I mean, right now.
Can you do that again? Can you do that process again?
I can do it. Yeah.
Especially for her, right? Like if something were to come back, she could literally, you guys could do the exact same thing.
Are there chances of that?
I mean, there's always chance of relapse with any cancer. So,
sure.
But I could give again, and I could give to anybody else. I could give to somebody else. It doesn't have to be her, and I would do it for anybody else.
Yeah.
But,
let me ask you this, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know if you know this either, but How does it actually work? Like, how does stem cells? I mean, I understand stem cells. The way I understand them is like they use them for like cartilage regeneration. Like you can actually put your own stem cells in, say, your knee, and it'll regenerate in there. It's almost the stem cells of our body are the things that basically make the lizard's tail regrow type of deal.
So for her, they basically killed all her cells during her. So she had a really like strong round of chemo before she went to donation. So she basically had nothing at that point. So mine went in, and that was all
took
of her.
over.
So it took over, and if there was anything left, mine would have been so much that it would have overcome what was in there.
So it attacks the bad cells, and okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered because obviously there's a science to it. I just didn't know if we had any idea how that science works.
I'm not sure how all of it works, but that's
something
kinda,
like that.
Yeah,
So
We know that process A to B equals life.
hey,
right?
listen. Or we also know that some good Mexican eating stem cells will kill anything.
No doubt.
So she did. She's married now. So her and Corey, that's her new husband. He's an awesome guy. Together they have the Brady Bunch. They have 7 children now. So
Wow.
So it's not only do I have four boys that I love, now I have 3 more. I have Colson, Tinley, and Tommy. Tommy's
7 boys?
No. So Tommy's a girl. So Tommy and Tinley are the 2 girls and 5 boys. Colson's like
Corey.
It was wild up there.
Corey, did you know what you were getting into? I know. Like, did you have a chance to think this through, man?
Yeah. So Corey's an awesome guy. He's an elementary school principal, so he's used to kids. But
You go, Corey.
yeah.
He could almost fill his whole school with his own kids.
Football team.
Some people he's telling me all the time, like, you have your own baseball team.
He's definitely got a basketball team with 2 spares. So
There's no room on the team. All my kids are playing.
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah.
Lacey, did you have a favorite quote or a verse that you were listening or reciting over and over, or what encouragement you were going through?
I had songs that were Graves of Garden. And so the crazy thing is when I sent my letter, I put songs in it that were hers. So I have the letter, like it was, I mean, when I say there was God all over it, there was God all over it. So one of my things that I wrote in my journal was faith is not believing that God can, it's knowing that he will. And I stood on that the whole time, knowing that he didn't bring me or her to this point to know that he couldn't heal her if that was what his will was.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately his will, but
Amen to that.
I can do all things through Christ, right?
that's right. Yeah. So and then she gave her community. She gave me the name, but her community called me Esther for such time as this.
Sure.
But when you look back, and I look back on it, because to me, it didn't matter who it was. I was going to do it regardless. I didn't care if it was a child.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
That's right.
And to know that you have people somewhere you don't even know praying for you and praying for you, not only for me, but for my family, my friends, like, that's humbling. And you don't want any record. Like, all I want is people to get on the registry so they can be somebody else's life.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me. Like, just if you can. So the registry, you can sign up when you're 18. 18 to 45 is like the accept. Now you can get on the registry after 45. You have to pay because there's more testing that has to be done, but you could ultimately give into your 60s. But the prime age is 18 to 35. That is the age range that is best. So if I could say anything, it's just, if you're willing to do something, like, it's selfless. Like, and it's a 7-day recovery if you have stem cells like I did, and a 10-day recovery if you have it through the hip. I mean,
Yeah.
It really was not hard at all.
So tell people where they need to go if they're interested in this.
So if you want to join a registry, you can join. There's multiple, but Be the Match at bethematch.org, Gift of Life at giftoflife.org. And then you can also go to Lachlan's Open. We have links to Be the Match because that's who we've worked the most with. I didn't learn about Gift of Life until I went to a Gift of Life center. So that's how I learned about Gift of Life.
It's awesome. Yep. Lacey, I can't thank you enough for being one of the most selfless people that I've ever been honored to talk to. By miles. I mean, that is
Purpose.
What a great story.
Everybody has a different purpose, right?
What a great story.
So, I mean, I look at it like like God was in it way before to me, God was in it before. Maybe the reason I don't have kids is so that I could have 4 kids in another state.
7.
They still have it. Well, now 7, yeah, but 7, yeah. But that those 4 boys still have their mom.
Yeah.
So
I'm still just
I know
rattled.
it's too deep. It's like too deep to.
But also, if you want to get in with Lachlan's Hope, like I said, we do the charity golf tournament every year. Megan's been a part.
Yeah.
And we have a good time out there.
We need sponsors.
Sponsors. We have, if you go to the website, we'll have their information up pretty soon about sponsor levels and how you can donate. And you can always just donate. There's a button on there and you can click and just donate and know that all of your money is going straight to families here in South Carolina and helping people who sometimes just need a little bit.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's great. Lacey, thank you so much for your time today. That's a wrap, guys. Process this one for a minute. We'll be back next week.
See ya.